As required by law, the town may audio or video record this meeting. Any person intending to either audio or video record this open session is required to inform the chair. At this point, I am going to open the meeting for the Town of Harwich Board of Health for Wednesday, January 18th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. at the Town Hall, Dunby, Griffin Road. Okay, we are going to take public comment. And the comment is not supposed to be anything that we're discussing later on, so it has to be strictly comment. Does anybody have anything? Okay. All right, for the board.
You trying to make public comment? Caller 1.
Okay, all right, for the board, we're going to just change things around a little, since we only have the lawyer for the first half hour. Good. We're going to do 5A first, the animal regulations. Then we're going to do 5B, then 4C, and then 6A through C. So I'll call that as we get ready to do it, so I don't know if Ron wants to start reading the 5A.
5A. Okay, here we go. Continued public hearing to solicit comment on the proposed revisions to the Town of Harwich Board of Health animal regulations. Continued from November 15th meeting.
Okay, hearing is open. I'm going to allow 15 minutes, and 15 minutes only, because the lawyer's not going to be available that long, for comments. The changes that we have made are in the packet. If you have anything to comment on the changes, but other than that, what was covered before, we are not going to cover again. So it has to be related to the comments, to the changes that we made.
Hi there, can I ask a clarifying question? This is Belinda Rollins, a Harwich resident.
Yes.
Yeah, is the intention, because I felt like just the language was just a little confusing to me. The definition of the pet pig permit stated a structure with one or more pigs living indoors. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. I'm just rolling in from another meeting. And the policy at 7.1 references that a permit is required for 2 or more. And I just wanted to clarify, so the permit is actually if you have 2 or more, but the definition at the front is really about the structure. Is that correct?
Yeah, go ahead.
Through you, Chair. That's an excellent point that she brings up, and that's something the board will need to discuss with 7.1 in the definition. So that is something the board will need to discuss moving forward.
Could you give us your name?
Sure, it's Belinda Rollins.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also emailed about it yesterday because I wasn't positive I'd make it today. So the question has been submitted to the board email address.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just confused on that one point. So I'm just wondering, is the intention to make it a permit is required if there are more than 2 indoor pet pigs?
We are going to address that when the board brings it up for discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, James Connors. I'm here for Ms. Cole again. I wanted to thank the board and Attorney Blake for allowing me the opportunity to provide some definitional additions to what the board has been considering, and adding the portion of pet versus non-commercial exclusively for pet pigs has assuaged a lot of concerns that we had from a legal standpoint. So pet versus non-commercial was a tremendous improvement in your drafting, and I thank you.
Thank you.
So real quick, we have someone online that's having a hard time hearing. Matt, is that something you can check on your side?
For what it's worth, I have no problem hearing
Okay.
anybody.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Blake.
All right.
They turn up on their side probably.
Okay.
Okay. Is there someone else that wanted to? Just give your name and try to speak right into that microphone.
Certainly. Sharon Foster, West Harwich. And I appreciate the amount of work that you did, adding a couple of pages to the animal regulations to address this woman's concern about being considered a piggery when she has a pet pig. And I wonder if we're setting a precedent here where a single resident in the town can take offense to a term in one of our regulations or rules or bylaws, and then the board or the town will put considerable time and effort into changing everything around so this person feels more comfortable. I feel we're setting a precedent that's dangerous, and it's the beginning of a slippery slope. And I say this because in this day and age, we're having a very hard time defining things, and what things mean are changing on a crazy level. Our Supreme Court justice can't even define what a woman is. We no longer know what a man or a woman is.
All right, let's just keep this to the.
So that's why I say this, is we're starting to get caught up in the meanings of things, and that if a single person or small group of people decide that they don't like something, then all of a sudden government is stepping in and changing verbiage to make a single individual feel more comfortable. So I really don't know if this is the direction that this board and all of the boards and the town itself wants to be moving in as we go forward. It seems that a lot of the changes that were made in here actually also apply to piggeries, non-commercial piggeries. And I don't want to deny this woman the right to have a pet pig or to care for it. I mean, I don't have any objection to that. What I do have objection to is now adding in a new definition to something. And is this going to be repeated over and over again? So I just asked the board, is this something that you want to continue to do when we have a single resident that objects? I thought it was the town and our boards that do this, not
All
an
right,
individual.
I think we understand.
So
what
thank
you're
you for
getting
your time.
at. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Hi. Yep, I have something to say. This is Emma Bankman, and with all due respect, we were about to lose our home insurance, and I have my bags packed. I'm ready to leave because we were about to lose our home. So yeah, it was a big deal. So, and the reason is because we should have never been included in the regulations to begin with. And that's why back in October, I sent the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards template, and that spelled it out how it was supposed to be done. And the reason that was put out is because there was a bill passed in January 2021, and that there was an amendment, and that was so that the Agricultural Commission wouldn't be cut out of this process. And you know, that's exactly what ended up happening. And Cheryl Sabara, she's the attorney, and she's also the one that drafted that amendment. And she's been willing to help any board out that needed help drafting it. But I feel like this process has been really corrupt. And I don't even think it's the board anymore, because I did a public records request. And unfortunately, it seems like there are some people in high positions in this town, including the health director, and they decided that they are not going to let any changes go through. They met together, and they pushed
I'm
this
going to interrupt
through.
you. I'm going to interrupt you. Let's keep this to the comments regarding the changes that were made.
Yeah, well,
I
that
don't
is
wanna
kind
read
of
it. I don't
a
wanna
big deal.
rehash. Excuse
but-
me. I do not want to rehash what we did the other week, the other month. So unless you've got something new to add.
Well, this was new because you haven't heard this yet, but I do have a few things actually. So I did email the health department about, because she keeps saying that I'm in violation of zoning, and I know she can't answer zoning questions, but boards of health have authority to regulate piggeries. So we're not a piggery anymore. And I'm just trying to figure out why we are still included in these regulations, because I guess your argument is that 325-14 applies. And that's what I don't get, because it says the non-commercial raising and keeping. And raising and keeping is basically animal husbandry. So I mean, I don't know how we fall under agricultural and related uses, and that's why the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards does not want household pets or commercial enterprises included in that, and that seems to be what we're actually regulating.
All right.
So.
All right, thank you for the information. We're going to cut it off at
Yep.
that. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, you may ask our attorney to respond if you would like.
What?
Our attorney is on if you would like a response from him.
Oh, okay. Is,
Attorney Blake.
I'm happy to respond if you'd like, although I don't think the chair's response was, I don't know if I can amplify on that. I think it was an appropriate response. In Massachusetts, boards of health are given broad discretion in crafting regulations to regulate for the health, safety, and welfare of the people. The fact that you are regulating barns, that you are regulating animals, that you are regulating chickens, ducks, pigs, horses, I think it is well within your jurisdiction. I represent about 130 cities and towns in the Commonwealth, and I am often reviewing these kind of regulations. And I see nothing in your regulations that are ultra-virus, but beyond your authority. I know that the prior caller has tried to throw up every single roadblock to these things, but I think it's well within your authority to regulate. The only basis that you have to have is whether or not there's a rational basis for your regulations. And I believe there is a rational basis. We regulate dogs, we regulate, all kinds of other animals here in the Commonwealth. And I think your regulations are appropriate. I frankly think your regulations could have left out pet pig and regulated it as you had written it before, and they would have passed legal muster. However, you did what I think an awful lot of boards would do, and that is you hold hearings and you listen to the people. And as a result, you make changes if you think they're appropriate. But the prior caller essentially is asking you not to adopt any regulations. And while that is certainly an option for this board, the option to adopt what you have is also an option. And I suggest that it's well within your power.
okay, thank you very much. All right, we are just about over for the 15 minutes.
Can I?
So,
Hello? Hello? Hi? Can I say something?
Who are you?
if it's something different
Is
than what
this
you've
working?
already said.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm not very good at technology. I wanted to make sure I pushed the right button. My apologies. I just wanted to make, my name is Emily Mooring, and I just wanted to make one tiny distinction. And I'd like to preface this with my career is based around pet pigs, actually. I currently have around 13,000 of them on my books across the U.S. and overseas. As to one of the previous statements somebody made on why is it being regulated or important to be differentiated, it's the meat supply. We got to separate these pet pigs and backyard chickens from the industry of the food, and that's really important. So I just wanted to say on that one, that's why. These aren't pet pigs that are going all over the state. They're not being transported anywhere. They're not part of the food supply, and they're kept out of that. So that's why it's important to make that distinction.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing, or the public comment. Now, I'd like the board to weigh in on what we've updated, and I'll start down there with Kevin.
I
I have read the updates. I agree with them. I did specifically pay attention when reading them to the letter, or the email rather, stating the difficulty with the house insurance, which was the one thing, the only thing that I really had concerns over. So seeing that and seeing the changes that were made, I feel they're totally appropriate. I know we need to clarify. I see the first one, the pig pit permit says more than one, and the other one says, you know, 2 or more. So we'll fix the verbiage and make it the same on both. Aside from that, agree with the changes that are made, provided it suffices with the issues with home insurance. I am all for it and ready to move on from this one.
Accept the changes that have been made, and then no further comment.
I agree with the changes, I think it was well done.
I accept the changes.
I have some questions. Surprise, surprise. Okay. Let's go back to the definitions for the commercial and the pet pig permit. And to the person's comments earlier, I think for the clarity, if we are consistent where we say 2 or more, both for commercial, for non-commercial, and for pet pig, to make that 2 or more for all of those. Okay, on page 4, section 171. I thought that was a little.
Consistency is actually 2 or more than 2, not 2 or more.
That 7.1, I think needed some clarification, and we kind of worked out something that says 2 or more pigs must be permitted, whether it's commercial, non-commercial, or pet pig. 1 pig does not require a permit. So I thought that kind of laid it out, that it maybe made it a little clearer. Anybody? All right, and then on page 5, 7.9. Again, where it singles out here, pet pig permits. We're going to say commercial, non-commercial, and pet pig permits may only be approved by the Board of Health after approved by the zoning compliance. So we're putting all 3 of those, again, since we included them with the permit before, to make that consistent. And page 7.9. I guess it's the top of the page. It's part of 9.2. Wow. All right, at the top of that page, it says, it starts out if pigs go to the bathroom. So we're clarifying that a little bit and saying if your pig is not litter box trained, how often are you picking up the waste, and what is the final disposal place of the waste? And the reason for that is it's a public health issue all the way around. So that's why we were clarifying. I don't know if anybody has any other comment on that. No? Okay. And then I think the board is ready to vote at some point tonight, which I think we should. We need an.
I just have a couple you should take zebras out of equine because that's a wild animal.
You have to.
The public hearing's been closed.
It's been closed. Yes.
Point of order, if I can. There should be a motion from the Board of Health to close the public hearing and then vote on it so that the public hearing is closed.
Closed. All right. Now, I thought I had closed it, but maybe I wasn't clear.
You might have, but have a motion and then close
All
the
right.
public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
And then nobody else can speak after that.
Okay, thank you. So do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I motion to close the public hearing on animal regulations.
I'll second it.
Voting?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to this, what we will need to do is, if we vote to put these into effect, what do we want an effective date? Do we want to, since there has to be some permits in there, go with a month,
I would go longer. I would give at least 3 to 6 months.
3 months?
3 months.
Especially if we're changing some of the verbiage in here.
Well, we would, if we're going to vote on this, we would vote on it with the verbiage that we agreed to tonight, but then we need that date before it goes into effect so that the people have a chance to get their
3
permit.
months is
April
fair.
1st might be an easy,
April 1st?
easy date.
I think so.
That
3 months is good.
2023.
2023. All right.
Do we vote on that?
Yes.
Okay.
I had one more recommendation
go
for the
ahead.
board. 9.4 to include all 3 of the pig
Oh, wait.
permits.
Oh, yes. 9.4 is another one. I missed that one.
And then just change it to require floor plans and proof of vaccination, proof of approval from zoning officer, and either sanitary or manure management plan.
Okay. Anybody have any? with that? Okay. Are we ready to take a vote?
In 11.3 is missing one word.
11:3. Oh, yes, yes, all right. Second, 11:3, that the second line where it says, notice of the public hearing relative to the request. I did have that one down. Okay, any other comments, corrections? All right, do we have a motion? Don, you want to, or Ron, you want to read it? You want to read for a motion?
I'm not sure if I understand the motion.
The motion to accept the
To
regulations?
adopt the
Adopt
Oh, yeah,
animal regulations as amended, effective April 1st,
okay,
2023.
yes. Motion to amend, adopt the regulations
As amended,
as amended to go into effect April 1st,
2023.
2023.
Second.
Vote?
Second.
Aye.
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 Ron?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
All set.
yep, okay. All right. Now, we're going to move on to 5B.
Continued,
Yes, go ahead.
okay. Continued hearing, 126 Route 28 Chase Escape Cape Cod LLC, for the applicant to provide the Board of Health with sufficient evidence that a contract has been executed for an septic upgrade and to have further discussions on possible extension of time for the septic upgrade for up to 45 days or longer. Continued from October 20th, 22, and November 15th.
Do we have anybody, do we have anybody online?
Ask.
Is there anybody online for this? Okay,
Attorney Blake, do you want to speak real quick since there's no one here?
I would. Madam Chair, just so that you know, and I forwarded it over to your agent, your director, the applicant here had sent an email yesterday to the Board of Selectmen, and I believe it was also directed toward the Board of Health, saying that counsel for the applicant was on maternity or paternity leave, and that the applicant himself, the owner of the property, Mr. Fiorella, had contacted a variant of SARS I'm not 100% sure what that means. And they could not attend, and asked that you continue this. The Board of Selectmen had a hearing yesterday, and this is not the first time that this has happened, at least at the Board of Selectmen, where the applicant has asked to continue the matter mere hours before the hearing. The Board of Selectmen said enough is enough, and they're moving forward. This is, of course, your call. If you decide that you'd like to give them some additional time, you certainly can. But I believe that this is at least the second hearing and possibly the third hearing at which they just haven't even shown up. I think 2 other ones, they didn't even show up. So it's your call how you want to proceed. As it stands right now, I don't believe that this facility can open unless and until there's an approved Title V system. I think you were doing a favor to them by working with them to try to get something going. But you know, at the end of the day, they can't move forward on this until they get an operating system. And I believe the whole reason you're here is because they were trying to appeal that determination by your health agent. So if they continue to, if they don't want to show up, then you make your determination as you see fit, or you can give them some additional time to hopefully show up the next time. But it's your call.
Thank you.
So this hearing was actually to pick a date. So they were here on September 20th. The board had voted that they could not open, that the septic had to be upgraded, but we didn't decide on a specific date. No one showed up for October 20th or October 15th. I would recommend moving forward and picking anywhere between 6 months and a year, but keeping the provision that they are not to open until the system is completed. They will have to come back before this board for the system due to our 1.211 regulation. They do have to go to a few other boards, so I think at a bare minimum, 6 months would be as quick as they could do it. If the board wanted to, I think giving them up to the year would be reasonable, provided that they can't open without the system being completed. But it's the board's call if you'd like to discuss that tonight or not.
So you're saying up to a year?
Why up to a year?
It takes a while to, engineers are very booked right now, installers are very booked right now. There's no use currently, so it's not adding in any environmental hazard right now because the building's not opened.
I'll open it to the, go ahead, any comments?
Yeah, and especially kind of on that stretch of 28.
Well, you'd have to decide if you wanted to hear it or not first. If you want the hearing to continue this evening first.
Oh, do we want to continue it?
Motion to continue this hearing this evening.
So continue would be not talk about it tonight.
Oh, all right. So, no, I motion to have this discussion and vote on it tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
Second?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
And I definitely have something to say about this. I used to work in that building many years ago when it was the Irish pub in Bishop's Terrace, on North Street, the house across from the church on North Street that are just run down and nothing's being done with them. I would hate to see that done with this property. That being said, I also don't want them to open until everything's been taken care of. So I would like to give them all due opportunity and time to make that happen, but I agree with Katie that the building is not to be occupied or operable until a certificate of compliance has been issued. So I would say even longer than June 1st. I would like to give them a full year. I would hate for something to prevent them from using that building. And I would love to give them all opportunity as long as they comply with the regulations.
Yeah, I agree with Kevin.
I think 6 months is plenty because they've been before the board a few times. They really haven't showed up. I think 6 months should be it.
It is tough getting an engineer and installer right now. That's my only hesitancy, that everyone is very busy.
I can see what you're saying. Where I'm gonna come from is the fact that they haven't shown any good faith up till now. Not like, gee, I've tried to contact somebody, I couldn't get it done. We don't even hear from them.
Valid.
How about compromise in 9 months?
Well, you can put that up.
And I don't want to dissuade the board from 6 months. I want you to understand
I
why
know
I
what
would
you're
give
saying, but if,
more
I
time.
think if we don't push them,
That's right.
they're not gonna do anything. I'm not sure they're gonna do anything now. But to give them a year, after we've asked them at least twice before this, and nobody is showing up. Nobody is giving us any information. I would give them at the maximum of 6 months. That's just my feeling.
Could I counter with having them giving us a definitive plan at 6 months with up to a year to get it done?
I thought we discussed that before with them.
Yeah, I thought that's what we were supposed to do before. They were supposed to come back with a plan,
That's right.
Yeah.
and they haven't done it.
Nothing.
They've done nothing. They haven't said we tried to contact anybody. I mean, I'm all for giving somebody the benefit of the doubt, but then they gotta show a little faith on their end, and I don't see that.
What would happen after the 6 months?
Pardon?
What would happen after the 6 months for them?
After the 6th month, I guess you could, you said like shut off the water and start flying.
So, let's say after 6 months, the water gets shut off and fines start. And it pushes the ownership currently of the building to just decide that it's, I mean, if they're not opening, what are the fines for?
They're not
You know,
moving.
I mean,
But
so,
no compliance.
okay, but if nobody's, that's a really tough one.
All right, what is the point of extending it when nobody's even responding to it? If they were coming back to us with some sort of a plan, or something that, so that they were at least attempting to do something, I could give them that benefit of the doubt, but we have heard nothing. And I think it's time that we kind of push it. Either you want it or you don't. I guess that's kind of where I'm coming from. That's just my thought.
Can we come to an agreement on a shorter time frame on the plan? Say like April 1st for the plan, but give them the time as long as they can arrange things to come up and actually do the installation. I see so many buildings down that area that just aren't, nothing's being done with them.
Well,
They're
it
just
doesn't look
boarded
like
up
they're,
and,
but it doesn't look like they're doing anything anyway.
And they have not booked test hole yet either, which would be
Yes,
a very early step.
yeah. Hadn't tried.
Do we have a motion yet? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we give them 6 months.
Can you do the whole one? To allow the,
I did give you options.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay,
here's one.
yeah, okay. Move to approve the extension request to allow the septic system to be installed by June 1st,
or whatever date you pick.
2/23. Oh, June 1st sounds great. The building is not to be occupied or operable until a certificate of compliance has been issued.
I'll second that.
Okay, vote,
hey, I would like to extend it further than that.
okay. Matt?
Yay.
Yes. Ron?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm sorry, Kevin, were you yes or no?
I'm a nay. I want to go further than June 1st, but
All right. All right. Moving it on. We're at 4C, the tobacco.
4C. Okay. Tobacco regulations discussion.
Okay. Katie, are we having a public?
Just a work session.
Just a work session, all right. All right, so. What are the comments?
You know, read through this, I know we've gone over it a couple times as far as, you know, what it discusses, and I will back everything except still, I still don't like the wording of section 8, the maximum number of tobacco product sales. I don't like the fact that in 8D, it says that every time one is retired, the total number allowed in the town should be reduced. I feel like we should come up with an agreed upon number and keep it there. Maybe if it's 12 rather than 14 and we reduce the next 2, but cap it at some point, just to provide people the opportunity to run a business that there's certainly demand for. But that's my only issue with the way things are drafted currently.
Matt?
No comment.
So you're happy with them the way they are? Okay. Pam?
I wouldn't change anything at this time.
I wouldn't change anything. I'd diminish them, actually.
Your existing regulations are written that way, so eventually that would be grandfathered out if
Yep.
everyone gave up their license. That's how your current regs are set up.
Yes.
That was why I had carried it over.
Yep.
I think that was the way it was set up
Yep.
originally, the first time around, where it would eventually zero out.
Exactly.
And it does give you 2 options for violations for the fine structure. You have option 1, which is the state and local distinction, or option 2, the unified fining structure. Before we have the public hearing, we'll need to have this cleaned up, so you'll have to pick one of those 2 options. So that's pages 12 and 14.
Any thoughts from the board?
I'm liking them where they are.
I mean, any comments on
Well-
whether it's option 1 or 2? What your,
Is there any that we're currently using? Like which one?
The current one is closer to, they're pretty similar. I'd say the existing fee structure is set up, probably closer to option 2, but they do have, excuse me, option 1 is the one that's closer to the existing ones right now, where it breaks down, the Harwich specific regs is a different fine structure as the state regs. That's what we're using currently.
So I'm sorry, what are you asking us to?
So for the violations, do you like the fine structure better for option 1 or option 2? You can go either route. Or you could leave it in until we have the public hearing and get comment. If you want me to leave it like this, we can
I'd leave it like that so we get public
get
comment.
public comment on
all
it.
right,
That'd be I think that would be, at least we'd have
all right,
some
we'll leave it open
other
for the,
perspectives.
Yep, that's fine. I can leave it as is for when we do have the public hearing.
Yeah.
all right.
And you don't need to take any action tonight. This is just your work session before the hearing.
Right.
All right.
So we'll get that on for the February meeting.
Okay, all right. Let me see where we are. We did. All right, we're moving on to section 6.
Hearing 7?
Yes.
Six.
The 7-lot subdivision.
Oh, All right, 7. All right, yeah.
Report of the Health Director.
This hearing.
Oh, okay. Hearing 7, you're talking about, okay. Definitive subdivision plan off of Littlefield Pond Road. Definitive subdivision plan prepared by Down Cape Engineering, Inc.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dan Ojala. For the record, I'm a land surveyor and a civil engineer with Down Cape Engineering in Yarmouthport. And before you tonight with a required item in the subdivision control law, which is to bring a definitive plan in front of the town's Board of Health for review and approval. And at the same time, you can overlook, or you can look over the your subdivision regulation filing under 1.211 Board of Health. This may look familiar to some of you. A couple of years ago, we did run this through and it was approved as a preliminary plan. This plan is for a couple of the hours, and Mark Giarusso is one of the other principals. He's on the line if there are any questions of the ownership. But pretty straightforward. There's a building lot that's there now, a very large one, and we're redividing that into a roadway and lot 1. And then there's 6 other lots, so a net gain of 6 lots in the division. This was mapped as NHESP, priority habitat, by NHESP, and so we did go through a procedure on that. I'm pleased to say that as a result of that, we conserved some off-site areas to the west of Locust, and because of the restrictions that will go into place, it increased the subdivision size so that we are less than 5 parts per million when we do the 1 bedroom per acre on this site. I'm sorry, 1 bedroom per 10,000 square foot, or 4 per acre. But again, with the off-site open space, it dilutes it down nicely to a nice low number. As you can see from that hydro study, we're about 10 years before this water will reach the Herring River West Bay watershed. So it's a long term of travel. When that's the case, you don't concern yourselves too much with phosphorus. That would bind up long before that. The nitrogen is still an issue, but again, it's a very low number with this particular development. The stormwater is all handled by deep sump hooded catch basins, the secondary deep sump hooded basins prior to infiltration. That removes the 44% TSS prior to infiltration. And there's a nice low natural kettle that we're calling a no-fill drainage easement. That's a 100-year overflow for that system. So it'll be a nice, and it's similar to the other subdivisions we've done in the area leading up to this, but a natural area for the drainage, and it'll be a no-touch area. There was a wetland a little bit west of Locust, just nicks onto one of the lots. We're conserving just about the full 100-foot offset to that. It's a little isolated, or BVW, on the west side. The rest is nice high rolling terrain. The average is probably about 25 feet above sea level, and or even more, and in excess of 20 feet above groundwater. So you've got good, decent sand filtration. You know, the biomat under the leaching fields tends to filter out most of the pathogens, but then you've also got a nice dry layer down before the effluent hits the aquifer. And again, it's diluted by a large division of land. So pretty straightforward. Again, 7 lots, 6 new. The filing should be in good order. You did approve the preliminary a few years back. So this is the definitive. We'll be back in front of the planning board, I think, next week to wrap up with them. And I'd be glad to answer any questions if you do have them.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Not really, just, confirming, as it is stated here, this is not an area that we have set forward to be sewered and having regulated to be connect up to those sewers within a certain time frame.
As of right now.
As of right now, we'll work with what we got. That was my only concern, is confirming that. As long as that is confirmed, I am okay with everything as planned.
No comment.
No comment?
Accept.
You wanna, did we vote on this?
I recommend approval of the division plan dated January 26th by Down Cape Engineering and the hydrogeological data dated 6/25/19 feel is in compliance with regulation 1211. I recommend the following conditions. All previous conditions must remain in effect. Board of Health decision must be recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
I'll second that.
Vote?
Aye.
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 Great, I really appreciate your time. And one thing I would note is that they asked me to add a hydrant to the plan, so there'll be a revision date, but I don't think you absolutely specify the exact date, right?
Okay.
So it is a de minimis matter, but I will give them a revision with a hydrant on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go to B? Okay. Hearing, 560 Route 28, Snack Shack.
Candy Shack, that's a typo.
Say it again?
It's Candy Shack, I think that's a typo.
Yeah, Dr.
Okay.
Gravis Candy Shack.
I just saw that.
Yeah, so you're changing the name, is that correct?
It was a typo.
That was a typo.
That was a typo, okay, all right.
I can give you history on the name in a moment.
Okay,
I was told I needed to
Okay.
first introduce myself.
okay. Chapter, Food Code and Title V. Chapter 4-30112, relief requested from the requirement of a 3-bay sink. Alternate
Washing sink.
ware washing procedure proposed. Chapter 5-20313, relief requested from the requirement of a separate hand washing sink. Alternate hand washing location proposed. Chapter 301-1, relief requested from the requirement of a service sink. Alternative sink procedure proposed. Number 4, per 310 CMR 15-203, 3, relief requested for the minimum allowable gallons per day for septic system design. 1,000 GPD required, 201 GPD provided.
Okay.
Colette Cummings, my husband Rob Foster. The two of us own Ducks in the Window in Chatham. We're in our 8th year. 2 years ago, we bought Dr. Gravity's Kite and Toy Shop. Previously, the candy store next door, about a month before we purchased the Kite Shop, was run under Peter Hurst as Dr. Cavity's candy store. He sold it to Say It Sweetly about a month before we bought the Kite store. We went through our first 2 years, actually our first summer as the Kite store, with no less than 200 customers asking us what happened to Dr. Cavity's. We said it was sold prior to us owning it. Jessica Barbella left the Cape a few months ago. She was the owner of Say It Sweetly. Back in October, she approached us and said that her personal situation changed. She was leaving the Cape and asked if we would purchase the business. We purchased it. Katie and Carrie were a tremendous help to me. I had no idea what I was getting into, but I think that I now have mastered it and we are ready to go. So we are here tonight to reopen an amazing candy store. We do not own the name Dr. Cavity's, so we have named it technically on an LLC, Dr. Gravity's Candy Shack. I just came last night from the, what is called the Winter Fancy Food Show in Las Vegas, and there's a lot of sweets. So we might name it we're debating it, Dr. Gravity's Candy and Sweet Shop. What is stopping me and what I'm here tonight is that as I researched all of the candy stores around the Cape, I don't believe there is a candy store that does not serve candy by the chocolate by the pound. You want to be able to come in and pick out, you're going to visit somebody in a nursing home or your staff, or I want to bring my friend for dinner, I want to bring her a handful of chocolates, I want to pick a quarter pound, a half a pound. And Jessica did have these variances, and she invested. I just saw that equipment at the candy show yesterday. She invested in these amazing display counters. I think it's called Alternative Air, where it's truffles, it's chocolate bark, it's chocolate-covered pretzels, sea salt toffees, sea salt caramels. And we want to have that. We want to stay consistent with that. To do that, we are septic with retail, so we do not have a 3-bay sink. We became very friendly with the owners of Seagull's Ice Cream up the street. They have an amazing facility. They have signed off that anything that we do need to wash, which will be very, very little because we'll do disposable, we can use their 3-bay sink, and they have signed off on that. Really nice guys. If we can do cut fudge. One of the fudge manufacturers that I met over the last few days traveling to trade shows, they will make the fudge and they'll perforate it for me. So make it a lot easier when I go to Restaurateur, which I was on yesterday, where I can get the knives, or I can even get sort of a little bit smaller than what you would do for a pie slice. And those can be disposable. So we've got that. We've got the napkins, the disposable gloves. So that's what we're here for today, is to be able to self-serve that chocolate by the pound in those 2 cases. In addition, the rest of the store, what we plan to do is the only thing that is a slight variance, but I literally just, not yesterday, but what is today, Wednesday? Monday, I was in the Jelly Belly booth at the Winter Fancy Food Show. And I have pictures in here of what a display kind of looks like, but I actually just personally saw it a few days ago. And with the Jelly Belly, that's the only thing where it's a self-service, but it will bring great color to the store. It'll be self-service, but I saw it, and when you pick I think we'll do 12 of them. When you pick, let's say it's going to be the very cherry jelly bean, it can't go back in. It's not like the candy things that we used to do at our duck store, where you lift it up and a kid can put their hand in it and, oh dear Lord, they can put it back. I have 80 of those containers in my basement at my duck store. I don't know, I'll probably throw them out at this point. That you can't put it back in. So that's the only thing that we do. I haven't bought it yet. I want to make sure I get through this meeting tonight. But if we do get past this meeting, we'd like to have this Jelly Belly display. It'll be, like I said, about 12 or 15 of the top sellers, and everything else will be packaged. Beyond that, the plan for the rest of the store, I said this probably 100 times in the last 48 hours at the show, I had to tell everybody, we want this candy store to be 75% chocolate by the pound, and penny candy for the adult that wants those, whatever those called, those little manila wafers, or whatever your favorite candy is. I'm really tired. We want your vintage candy that everyone in this room wants. We want the vintage candy that all your grandkids want. So 75% of that store is going to look exactly the same. You're going to walk in, you're going to have the candy counter. It's actually going to look a lot better because she was very vacant. It was I don't know if you guys were ever in there, very, very blank space. We're going to fill that up, 75% packaged candy, penny candy, chocolate by the pound. Then in addition, we're going to try something new, which is where the name is sort of orbiting right now. Is it Dr. Gravity's Candy and Sweet Shop? We want to have the back corner, which was completely dead space. She had an accordion, what's it called? An accordion door. That was just blocking shelves where she was storing boxes, and there was a crawl space. We want to put a movable door there with some shelves, and we want to create sweets. So whether that's sweet tea or sweet chocolate pretzels or sweet popcorn or sweet marshmallows, all packaged, everything that I just came from the show for, so that it will be a candy and sweet shop. But the only variances that are needed is to be able to serve the self-service, the chocolate by the pound out of the cases. Chocolate-covered fruit, chocolate-covered pretzels, M&M covered pretzels, truffles, sea salt caramels, all that, with disposable gloves, and then to be able to do the jelly beans. Everything else in the store will be packaged, pre-packaged by somebody else with their own sink and their own label. Yes.
When do you tend to open?
As soon as I can.
Year-round?
Yes, with the exception, so my kite store, just based on timing and I mean, I don't think I'll if I can get open by Valentine's Day, I will. If I can't get it together, I won't. My goal is to be open. I'd like to be open by President's Day weekend when all the kids are down on break. That is what we have done with the Kite Store. We usually are closed for those 6 weeks. Then we try to open for that weekend. We're open for the week that all the kids are out on break. And then we typically go weekends, at least through March. And then I just did the schedule yesterday morning. For whatever we do for kites, we'll do for candy. And we'll probably stay open. We'll probably be open every day in March except for Monday, possibly Tuesday. We're really trying very hard to be a year-round business, but January is just tough because I was just telling these guys, I just got back from 2.5 weeks of trade show travel, so it's really hard to be open and be out trying to figure out what to buy for next year. But as much as we can be year-round, we're going to try. Because what's nice about bringing the two businesses back together is that you can have the same staff. I don't need to have somebody at the candy store in March and somebody at the Kite Store. I can put a nice big sign and say, knock next door, and we can walk back and forth. She blocked, I don't know if you guys are familiar with our alleyway, if anybody's been to the Kite Store. It's really fun what we did. We added a new shed, and we landscaped it and made it so that you could walk out through the back of the Kite Store and open up. We had a picnic table, and all 3 of the sheds had doors that opened up with product. And Jessica, for whatever reason, I don't think she wanted people to walk through, but she blocked a fence and put some like random, lobster traps or something. We'll probably open that back up so that people can, there's just a little bit more synergy between those 2 stores. That's the goal.
With some questions.
I very familiar with the location, grew up here in Harwich. Totally agree with somebody who has a lot of fond memories of growing up and going to the bandstand concerts in Chatham and going down to the Candy Manor in there. I had concerns about the disposable silverware, but you said everything's perforated.
I only just found out.
Dense fudge with a disposable knife.
Yeah, no, I was concerned about. I was not sure about that myself. That I actually learned that at the Atlantic Gift Show. There was somebody from there, and that's what they do. And I was like, okay. And they showed me, and then so I was wondering how I was going to cut that fudge too.
The only thing that I would like to have somebody from the town, whether it be a Board of Health member or whatever, would be somebody to look at that Jelly Belly display and approve it. Other than that, I'm okay with everything.
No comment?
We can do that on an inspection.
I might before I purchase it. I mean, I think if I buy the inventory, I can get it. I'm almost 100% sure that Candy Manor has one. So I'll see if I can find one physically on the Cape so we don't buy it and then find out we can't have it.
No comment?
Questions?
Nope, all set.
Ron?
All set.
Sharon,
I
you
just
do
have a couple of questions. All right. Where you're talking about the variances, it says from the relief of having to have a 3-bay sink, from the required to have a separate hand-washing sink, and one for the request for allowable gallons per septic system. I'm looking at 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 3. So what, if you're asking for variances from that, what do you have?
So as of a few days ago, I have a brand new bathroom because the bathroom that was there was not very nice. So I have completely had a contractor come in there just a few days ago and just completely gutted and renovated the bathroom so it is as clean as it possibly can be. It's not technically going to service a service industry when it is a retail septic, but it is the cleanest bathroom I can get for at least employees to be able to go and wash their hands. Anything that is a knife that's disposable, thank goodness. Anything I really have to wash, which is really nothing. The only thing I can think of that I have to wash are disposable plastic trays, which I'm going to go up to Seagulls to wash. Those are the trays that your truffles would be on. They're disposable, so my plan was to buy 3 times as many as I need. They're not that expensive. And then rotate them. You know, if I have a staff member, rotate them to the clean ones, and then I have a tub or whatever I want to call it, and I'll just go up, I don't know if it's once a week or once a month. It's 2 blocks away to Seagulls, and they have like a huge kitchen. So I don't plan to use this. I did just completely renovate my bathroom, like I said last week. I did that for employees to at least have a safe, clean place to wash their hands, but nothing will be used for dishes.
So the only place that the employees have to wash their hands is in the restroom?
Is in the restroom that we just renovated.
Does that, the fact,
But the employees shouldn't be touching any food. They'll all be disposable gloves. Everything will be disposable. You won't, there's not a single, the employees will have no reason to touch the food without gloves.
all right, so they will be wearing gloves?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, okay. All right, that was my only question.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've sold candy in Chatham with gloves. I mean, nobody touches food without
Right.
gloves. Never.
Okay.
I think you might have someone.
Oh, yeah, yes, there's another comment. Go ahead.
Comment for me?
For the person
For-
behind you.
for- Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Madam Chair, Richard Waystack, members of the board, Dr. O'Neill. I'm a neighbor of the folks who are proponents here this evening. I own the building representing Avalon Sunset Trust where William Bravis and Benson Young and Downs Insurance are. So I'm across the street. These folks have run a great business across the street from us. And that candy store is needed in this community. If obviously people who've been here for a while, who have seen the dynamics of the downtown, how it's changed in the last 5 to 10 years. I've owned a building down there now 20 years. And they run a good shop. They run a great shop. And my grandkids love it, to my dismay. But I think what these folks are asking for tonight is very reasonable, and it is very strong part of downtown Harwichport. And I'd strongly suggest that you give them the relief that they need.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Is there anybody online? There's nobody there. All right. Okay, and no further questions. We have a motion?
I motion to approve pending inspection of the Jelly Belly display.
Of course, and I'll get back to you if
I
I
had a
can
few
find
other
one.
suggested conditions for the approval, if you wouldn't mind including those on.
Four things.
All right. I recommend the variances be approved with the following conditions about the equipment being washed and sanitized in a licensed kitchen, which you have covered. No expansion of food service beyond the proposed operation. So I guess, would that include the sweets section? So we need an update when that comes, or?
Nope, that would be
including that?
That's all packaged.
Including that, then, and having those variances be non-transferable, and the location or ownership change, variances are null and void. And we do reserve the right to revoke those variances at any time, and the inspection of the Jelly Belly machine.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, vote?
Aye?
Aye.
I only if you have dark chocolate covered graham crackers.
So I wasn't sure how long this meeting would last.
Here you go.
So I packed for myself. Is it under 50 bucks? No. So I only have one.
It better
So I
be.
came home, I shipped 4 different boxes of FedEx.
Can we just finish this vote so we don't get,
I have one for myself.
That's fine. No,
It's a
you
sample.
can have it.
It's a sample. It's a sample from a company that I might.
Actually, a dark chocolate covered graham cracker?
That's exactly what that is.
That's yours, Pamela. All right.
And there was only one in my bag because that was a sample. I didn't know how long tonight's meeting would last.
all right.
Ron?
Aye.
Aye.
I did not bring that to bribe because I only have one.
Good luck, thank you.
You're welcome. That is a very good company called Asher's, which we're considering doing business with, and this is a sample that I picked up at the show. Because I made it there, and I can go home and you can have dark chocolate, graham cracker.
We do have your permit on for tonight under the permit section. So we'll reach out to us for the inspection, and then we can get things going. You can go.
I'll let you know about it if Candyman.
They voted.
I'll let you know if Candyman has a job.
It was unanimous.
Okay,
See,
6C.
show cause hearing. 18 Old County Road, Unit 15. Show cause hearing to discuss non-compliance with an order issued for violation of 105 CMR 410.00, minimum standards of fitness for human habitation. Violation issued December 1st, 2022, and January 6th, 2023.
And it was 10, not 18, just as a clarification.
Oh, say again now?
It's 10 Old County Road.
10 Old County Road, okay. Yeah. Okay. Anybody here?
No one's here. Would the board like an update from our senior health agent?
Yes.
Senior Health Agent Carrie Scherner. I did speak to the property owner on December 12th, just to confirm that he had received receipt of the meeting notice. He did state that he was going to be here, so I'm a little surprised he's not here. He had started with some pickup. He did the pickup of the roof shingles and the old mattress is gone. I confirmed that the following day on the 13th. He stated that he was beginning repairs on the other items and would be following up with us for inspection.
Why isn't he here tonight?
That I don't know. I thought he was going to be here.
Any comments from the board?
Though I certainly appreciate the fact that he's started, I also feel like the shingles and the mattress outside are probably the lesser of the issues going on.
There's a lot bigger things going on here, so.
Any comment?
I'm just,
What's the normal
that he's not
procedure?
here doesn't make it very good for me.
So we would send an order letter that we would require an inspection. It'd have to be both the tenant and the owner would have to agree on a set time and date that works for everyone. But I do have a recommended motion in here.
Okay.
I believe your recommendation is number 2.
Correct.
Yeah, I would.
I move to require that the necessary corrections to be completed at 10 Old Colony Road, Unit 15, and a re-inspection be conducted by the Health Department no later than February 28th, 2023. If a re-inspection is not conducted by that date, begin fining the owner utilizing the non-criminal disposition fee schedule.
Second that.
Vote?
Aye.
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 Aye. Let's get back to do we want to go with the work for the committee handbook and then your update?
Do you want to do the minutes first?
All right, we could do the minutes now, and,
It doesn't matter, whatever you want to do.
All right, let's do the minutes. We'll do the minutes and get that, so we don't forget it. And I did have some corrections there, if I can find it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, okay. I think we need to include Matt as being absent, which we normally have, and it wasn't there. Wait. This is against semantics on page 2, under 4A, the second paragraph, where it says Lindsay Strode from Harwich addressed the board. He shared with the board. I'm not quite sure what we're supposed to be saying there. So,
Supposed to be a period after board and then a capital. He shared with the board his
is that what it,
experience.
all right. I kind of thought it was going to be something like that. Okay. All right.
And I have one at the end of the
that paragraph. Third line up from the end, sensitive areas, and the states require, a complete ban should not be considered, it should be, is it just a typo, considered.
Okay. Thank you.
Didn't you, all right, let me just go back to that, because wasn't he the one that does not want a complete ban?
Right, a complete ban should not be considered.
Okay, and what was your correction?
Just instead of considered,
Oh, all right, I thought you were going, all right, got it. Okay,
just a typo.
yeah, all right. Other than that, all right, I had some other things on there, hold on a second. Oh, all right. On page 4.
I have something on 3.
You had something else on 3?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think middle of page 3, Robert Brahman, at the end of that first, he felt anything policy should be applicable.
Oh.
Not sure what that,
Felt any policy should be equally to everyone.
and then, maybe this is right, I don't know, the next paragraph, Mr. Urban feels that a total ban in,
Should be is.
yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It was a heavy meeting.
I know.
Okay, any more on that page? Okay, on page 4, B, in the big paragraph, about 2/3 down, where it says pigs, here we go with the 2 pigs. Do we want to, is there any reason to change the commercial, non-commercial, or leave it just as it is there? We're just saying pigs and swine shall be kept in an enclosed, we want to say,
I mean, I think we made that distinction
We should-
tonight,
yeah.
so, you know.
And these
I
are the
mean,
minutes, so I don't
Yeah.
know if that was the way we worded it, whether it should stay like that, or is that going to be a problem?
No, it shouldn't be a problem.
It wouldn't be
Minutes.
All right. Okay,
And then just a typo on B, 4th line down, pigs and swines are carriers.
barriers.
And then the last paragraph, weather, first, at weather, it's just a
Well,
spell wrong.
W-E-T-H-E-R instead of the weather.
Which paragraph was that?
The first line, the last paragraph, the first line, it's weather, mini
Weather.
pigs, and the weather is
That's all.
rain or snow.
That gives, raining cats and dogs, raining pigs, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, no, wait, there was another one here on page 7, where it said the next meeting is Tuesday, November 15th. Was that correct, considering this was the
Nope, that should be,
December
January 18th.
or January?
Yeah.
Yeah, because this was,
Yeah, we
yeah,
didn't
because
have
it was November, we didn't do December. That
Yep.
should have been January,
Yep.
all right. I think that was it for me.
And Carrie should have the last name, so we'll put that in.
Okay, we'll have a motion for the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes based
As-
on,
As change, as revisions?
as
As
changed,
amended.
as amended.
Okay,
I second that motion.
okay, vote?
Aye.
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 Perfect, thank you.
Okay, that took care of the minutes. do we want to have that committee discussion on the, that handbook next, and then you can finish up with your?
Sure.
All right. The only thing that I wanted to bring out on the handbook is that I think it's very good, and I think you should keep it handy and refer to it. There's a lot of information in there. I was hoping Mike would stay, because I saw some things in there that I would maybe not, just change where, so that, and I will ask him about this, because I think the Board of Selectmen wrote this, if I'm not mistaken. I think they put it together.
I believe so.
And the only thing that I saw was, in the very beginning, they talk about boards, committees, and commissions. And then throughout the handbook, they refer to one or the other. Sometimes two, sometimes three, most of the time one. Then at the very end, they go back and they use BCC, which is what I was going to suggest in the very beginning, if they use the boards, committees, and commissions, and then say, you know, throughout the rest of the booklet, it will be shown as BCC, which is what they did at the end. And my only reason for that is, and I don't know if it would ever come to anything, but if somebody would say, gee, I didn't do this because it didn't say it applied to the commission or the board, and it just said committee. In my previous life, I had to be careful of those kind of things, and I don't know if that's important, but I might just bring it up to Mike since he's our liaison. And I would think something like that could do a find and correct, you know. That's my only comment. Other than that, I really thought it was helpful.
I still have my committee handbook from when I started, so.
Did everyone get one? Because I remember
I don't
getting.
think I got one, but it was so long ago, I might.
I think I got a link.
I don't think
They
I
told
got
me
one.
where the link was, but, so, yeah. So
It's nice to have it.
Yes, and I do think, you know, spend some time to look at it. I know time is valuable, but I do think it's worthwhile knowing what's in there. That's my only comment for the handbook. Do you have any, Katie? No? Okay, anybody else?
Probably should be updated because of.
That's right. I think you should update it.
No, okay. Yeah, right. But I am going to ask them whether, you know, they can, I really.
It's almost 9 years,
Well, you
7
know,
years ago, right?
Going back to my labeling days, we had to be very, very careful
Yeah.
on how we did things like that. And if somebody came back and said, well, I did it, and you didn't say I couldn't because you only talked about, you know, a commission or something like that.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if it would come back to haunt them or not.
yeah, well,
So I will bring it up to them, and since it is their book, I will let them decide whether,
we'll just line it up, tell them what you want to get changed.
yeah, I did.
That's all.
Yeah, I was in the habit of doing that. All right, that takes care of that. And then we have the health director's report and the COVID update. We'll do that.
Do you have a preference on what goes first?
Nope, it's up to you.
So I'll do the COVID update first. The month of January has had 43 reported cases of COVID so far, compared to all of December, which has had 91. The 14-day average incidence rate is 21.8 compared to Massachusetts, which is 19. The percent positivity is 17.52 compared to all of Mass, which is 11.94. As of January 12th, when this data came out, 437 patients were primarily hospitalized in all of Massachusetts with COVID. 127 of those patients are in the ICU and 44 were intubated. That's not Cape Cod Hospital, that's all of Mass.
Okay.
11,109 of our over 13,000 full-time residents are fully vaccinated, and almost 7,600 have received at least one booster dose. There has been a treatment update for the telehealth services, which I've provided a telephone number for anyone that needs to utilize telehealth services related to COVID for Paxlovid and a few of the other treatments, which is really easy. And then I did attach a few Q&As from the Mass Department of Public Health. for your review if anyone's interested. Basically, you know, they've gotten a few questions on some of the new variants, as well as if the state's thinking of, you know, taking any new mitigation. And basically, they're just monitoring at this point. The hospitalization rate, while elevated right now, is not high compared to what we've seen in past. So we have a highly vaccinated population, which is really great. And for the most part, we're seeing more minor symptoms, even with the new variants right now.
Good.
Does anyone have questions on the COVID update before I move on?
No, but just thank you again for that mass.gov. We use that a lot.
Very helpful.
Directing people to it at work if we don't have availability. It's been great.
People can get a prescription within 15 minutes.
Yeah,
You know, it's really-
friends have called me, I've directed them there.
Yeah,
It works
it's
awesome.
incredibly easy for people, which is great. So for the health director's report, there has been extended public comment for the Title V and watershed permitting revision. If anyone is updated, I did provide a copy of the letter that the town of Harwich has submitted so far. We have not received a response. There are a few other sessions coming up. There's one on January 24th as well as January 25th. An oral comment will be accepted at both of these hearings. If anyone wants to provide written comment, there's a contact in here where emails or actual snail mail can be sent to. A fertilizer update from the Board of Selectmen on December 19th. The Board of Selectmen heard the Board of Health's request to petition the state to return control to fertilizer regulations to the individual towns. The Board of Selectmen ultimately did not agree with the Board of Health and decided not to petition the state. They didn't take any action with it. I will work with Sean Fernandez and Dan Pelletier and work on developing some educational material information. So stay tuned for an update on that.
Why did the select board disagree with the health board?
They felt that the state should remain with the control. I included a copy of our 22 annual report from the health department. If anyone is interested, that will go in the town report. Staffing update, we have hired a wonderful new executive admin, Christy Eldridge. She's really hit the ground running and been a huge asset. She's just fantastic. She's a great part of the team. So if you ever stop in, say hi, introduce yourself. She's been great. And then I've included departmental work for both the months of November and December. That is the director update.
All right, then we just had the correspondence, which is just there for us to have.
They're just FYIs, just so you're aware. Permits, so they're, the one from this evening, Dr. Gravity's Candy Shack, she is on there. She would be pending pre-opening inspection, as well as the Jelly Bean inspection. And then we are in renewal season right now, so there's quite a few. So anything with a star designation is a new permit. The rest are renewals.
Motion to accept the permits pending inspection with Dr. Gravity's Candy Shack.
I'll second that motion.
Vote.
Aye.
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 So the new name is gonna be what?
She's not sure yet. It was some Dr. Gravity's.
Either Dr. Gravity's Candy Shack or Dr. Gravity's Candy and Sweet Shack.
Okay.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
7:55.
Vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Ron?
Perfect.
Aye.
Aye. All right, adjourn.
Thank you.